الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي صلى الله على سيدنا محمد والحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam.
In Islam, we shall continue in on our topic about the deceptions of shaitan in the different topic. As you can see, today we are continuing about the deception of the worshipper still onto the meaning like we are doing the ibadah every day, right? So we need to understand, as I mentioned yesterday, the importance of us to know the intellect that is innate in us. Allah created and Allah wants us to be using it. It is very important for us to know this in order for us to understand what we are going through tonight about the deceptions of worshipper. Because at the end of the day, brothers and sisters in Islam, we don't want that whatever that we did, we will not be rewarded for what we did. As again, I have pointed out to you the book of Ibn Rajab Hanbali that he read to us, or he brought forth the hadith where the Prophet ﷺ mentioned about the danger of if we were to just practice Rukun Islam, there is no guarantee that we will not be punished, or rather there's no guarantee that we won't be in hell, right? In that hadith, that is what is been said. So because of we have known this hadith, so we have to go inside, to understand what actually or what exactly the Prophet is trying to share with us. All right? So these are some of the things that we should know when we are doing any act of worship in Islam. We have to make sure that it does not come into the stage of showing off of whatever we are doing. Of course, all the books that we are going through, right? It states about the importance of knowledge. Now, let me read to you the virtue of mind, which I have shared a little bit yesterday. So here it is said that people have differed regarding the essence of the mind and its location. Okay? So subsequently, this subject has been extensively discussed. In addition, many hadiths have been narrated establishing the excellence of the mind, some of which I have already mentioned in my book, This Praise of Desire. Therefore, he said, I will not repeat them here, rather I will mention a selection. So he explained here, the excellence of a thing is known by its fruits, right? Anything that you do, right? When you reach the level of being an excellent, that is known, then you will know that there will be a fruit. That means you will gain something, right? And from among the fruits of the mind is knowing the Creator. That is the first thing. And that's why in that hadith also that he shared, he said that if you were to memorize and understood Rukun Iman, the sixth article of faith, then you can rest assured that in all probability that you will not even be touched by hell. That is a guarantee from the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So because of that, so that's why I refer to this other text to share with you about the importance of the mind. For the mind has contemplated the proof of the existence of the Creator until it knew Him And that is why Sayyidina Ali karamallahu wajhah, again I repeated this many times, man arafa nafsahu faqad arafa rabbahu. Right? If you know yourself, you know your creator. So how to know your creator is, again, you have to contemplate the proof of the truthfulness of the creator and prophets until you recognize their truthfulness. So encouraged the mind has encouraged obedience to Allah and to His Messenger. It has schemed to get all that is difficult to obtain, and it tamed the animal. It taught man to build ships on which he reached what the sea had prevented man from reaching, and tricked the bird of the sea until they were hunted. All of this while man's eyes observe the consequence and work in accordance with safety and need. Furthermore, it taught man to relinquish. It taught man to relinquish the life of this world for the hereafter. Because of it, human beings have excellence over animal, and that also I've read to you the Quranic verse where Allah make it very clear to every one of us, like لقد خلقنا الإنسان في أحسن تقويم ثم رددناه أسفل سافلين. So human beings have excellence over animal that have been prevented from having it. That is, they don't have the mind, and it is what qualifies man for the speech of Allah and His commandment. With it, man reaches the highest rank that his kind can reach from good of this world and the hereafter in both knowledge and action. So this virtue suffice the need to delve into detail. Okay? So here, having the intention to show off, so you need to, when you come to that stage, you must always be remembering, as I said, and this doesn't, this doesn't make you that you have to be a graduate, you have to be a diploma holder. Not necessary, isn't it? Just the first one there, having the intention to show off. In other words, as you are doing any action, right, be careful of what is in your heart. Make sure that you know and you are not doing it just to show off to your other friends that you can be doing this, that you can be reading this, and so on and so forth. So if you have the intention to show off and be called as knowledgeable, then that is where you are being deceived by shaitan. Second, actually again these are very common. He's not knowledgeable but want to offer his advice. This is very common in our society. Many people want to take this kind of risk of giving advice, where you actually doesn't have that. For this one, giving advice, you have to have the qualification. It's different again. Like the showing off there, you don't have to. Right? The showing off, you don't have to. But if you want to give advice, you have to be knowledgeable. What happened here? Causing more harm than good. Because you are not knowledgeable. But you are offering an advice to someone. Like what the Prophet says, "Balighni walau ayah," that doesn't mean that you just bluntly or speak just as the way you like. No, you have to have knowledge to understand on how do you advise people. There are many things that is involved in that. An example will be you need to know a little bit background of that individual that you are giving advice, whether he understand you, whether is he among the ignorant, or is he in between. So then only you can start. Okay, otherwise then it will cause more harm to that individual than good. Okay, he may forbid from doing something that is permissible. That is what happened. I think in one of the sermon they brought this story about during the time whereby there is a man who is affected by high fever. right? So what happened? They went to someone, and this someone gave a wrong advice by asking people to pour water onto this poor gentleman, and he passed on. So this is an example of sometimes you may forbid from doing something that is permissible, depending on the various school of thoughts. Okay, that's why you see you have to have knowledge, because sometimes we are only exposed to the Shafi'i school. Most of us are exposed to the Shafi'i school, right? Then you can't take this for granted that what you learn in the Shafi'i will not be, will not be affecting others. Because especially in today's context, people marry crisscross. Sometimes you have the husband is Hanafi, the wife is a Shafi'i. Sometimes the wife is Hanafi, the husband is Shafi'i. So all this requires knowledge, right? Thirdly, because wrongdoers, and this is again, um, we are to be careful of this. We are not supposed to curse. Only something that we saw we don't like, but don't curse. Curse wrongdoers who might have repented and become better than him. That is what we fear. That is why Allah, the Creator Himself, says it's not our job to be cursing. And I mentioned this also before, especially when you are the curse is in Arabic means la'anatullah. You're asking Allah, may that person receive Allah's Ta'ala wrath for the wrongdoing things that he did. But what we are afraid here, after upon you saying or cursing me, then suddenly he repent. What will happen to you now? Okay. So again, on this context, I would like to share with you about the displays of Hawa. Okay? Hawa is the desire. Right? Hawa is the inclination of one's nature to what suits it. Can you understand that? Hawa is the inclination of one's nature to what suits it. Normally, it's what you think you like. So then that is Hawa. And that should not be criticized when what is sought after is a lawful thing. If it is a lawful thing, then we should not criticize it. However, it should be dispraised when one is excessive in following the Hawa. Actually, this statement is across the board, meaning in whatever that we do, we got to be careful. Anything to do with excessiveness, then it is considered as not the mind that is making the decision, but is our Hawa, is our desire. That said, when Hawa is criticized in an absolute manner, it is because most of it is either impermissible or because people usually interpret lawfulness and hence indulge in it excess. Can you understand? It's very beautiful what is being said here. When Hawa is criticized in an absolute manner, it is because most of this thing to do with the desire is either impermissible, it certainly is not allowed. But because people usually interpret the one that is impermissible as lawful, and hence indulge in it in excess. Know that the part of the inner self, okay, what is in us, know that the part of the inner self is intellectual. So this is where, as I said from the very beginning, the intellect is important. The virtues of which is wisdom, the vice of which is ignorance. Yet part of it is elicited. The virtue of which is poignancy. The vice of it is cowardice. Part of it is lustful, and the virtue of which is chastity, and the vice of which is unrestrained Hawa. So exhibiting patience in the face of vice, hear this, if you exhibit patience in the face of vice is a merit of the inner self by which a person endure both goodness and evil. Therefore, whoever lacks patience and allows his desire to lead his mind has then made the follower to be followed and the lead a leader. That said, it is expected that everything he desires will return to him and that he will be harmed from where he expected to benefit. He will be saddened by that which is expected happiness to come from. So indeed, human beings are favored over beastly animals. See, clearly mentioned, human beings are favored over beastly animals with the mind. This is where we are different from the animals, the intelligence that Allah has favored us. That is designated to restrain one from following hawa. That is the role of the mind. It will help you to fight, to restrain from following your desire. So therefore, when a person does not accept the judgment of his mind and abide by the judgment of his hawa, the beastly animal becomes better than him. Scary, eh? From the indicative sign through which the excellence of contradicting hawa is proven is the honoring and the superiority of hunting dogs over other dogs, which is due to their ability to contradict their hawa and to keep what they hunt for their master out of fear of punishment or has a show of appreciation. Are you with me? On it going?
Salam, yes, Ustaz.
Okay. Let me continue this before I go back to our slide. Know that the example of power is like rampant flowing water. Okay? The example of power is like rampant flowing water, leading the ship of one's nature. A person of a sound mind should comprehend enduring hardship when contradicting his power is much easier than enduring what comes from following it. For the least to be expected when one follows his hawa is being in a state in which one neither can enjoy it nor possesses the ability to prevent oneself from following it. Becoming accustomed to something allows it to become an addiction. So this is what happened to many of us, such as those addicted to or alcohol. So contemplating these matters makes it easier for a person to reject his power. All you need to do is just contemplate over it. From among what makes power despicable to a person is the deep reflection of oneself, upon which one will deduce that he was not created to act in conformity with his power. For a camel eats more than he does. A bird copulates more than him. And the desire of animals are unrestricted and they do not experience regret afterwards. Thus, when knowing that the share of human from desire is never ultimate, and when those desires are spoiled with human imperfection, accordingly, humankind should know that all these signs indicate that they were not created to follow their own hawa. Notwithstanding the dispraise, hawa is that which exceeds the limits, and it is that which the mind judge as faulty, as I have already elucidated. Therefore, whatever your desire of which there is a necessity to possess, and that which assists the self to improve is a praise rather than dispraise. Okay? The same what is mentioned here, then feeling vigilant to attack the wrongdoers and beat them, that is even worse. These are all the work of Shaitan. Feeling that he is not righteous enough to forbid evil, and in thinking, the deception in thinking will be too good for him, thinking that he is not worthy of Allah's bounty. This is sometimes we look at someone, and then we get jealous over whatever that he's given by Allah, and we start thinking that he's not worthy of Allah's bounty, and we can be living well and having delicious food, but it has to be in moderation. Understood?
Inshallah.
Huh?
Yes.
Can I continue?
Yes.
Still under the deception of worshippers, sometimes this subtle act of showing off, you can't see, you know, like having pale face, messy hair, soft voice, having the intention that with this look he is very religious and has no worldly goods. You may come across some of these people who will be showing you this kind of subtle act. Maybe you don't see it, but it's there out there. Second, it is out of fear of showing off that the righteous people conceal their actions. Normally, they don't show you all the bad things of what they do. They never smile, always head down with a sign of sorrow on them. This is what sometimes I get very disturbed also by the presence of this kind of people, where we know that actually these people are being deceived by Satan, and felt that how can we help these people? So they never smile. This is what you saw, right? Always head down with a sign of sorrow on them. But once they are alone, they turn into vicious life. Scary, eh? So they are in fact claiming to reach a level that is higher than the sunnah and actions of the companions already on. This is too much already. And lastly, staying rigid, focusing on non-obligatory acts, being unpleasant to others. So some of this I have been repeated. Be careful of the non-obligatory act, but don't go up to being rigid in whatever. Sometimes the beautiful part of Islam, as you know, right? We have four school of thoughts. So we can't be like I said again. We are not exposed to the other school of thought. Because of we are not exposed, sometimes that's where we tend to be rigid in our practice, in what we know. Okay, that brings to my next sharing. I want to share about you need to know the difference between the perspective of mind and the perspective of Hawa. Know that Hawa normally call to attaining pleasure without taking into consideration its consequences. Can you understand? Hello. Assalamualaikum. Are you all with me?
Yes.
Huh? So just remember, know that Hawa, our desire, normally will call to attaining pleasure without taking into consideration its consequences. Meaning, anything to do with mindset, normally we wouldn't want to think of the consequences. We do first and then complain later or suffer later. Though one might know that dissatisfaction will bring annoyance that actually exceed it, exceed the satisfaction, and also prevent one from attaining other similar satisfaction. Nonetheless, Hawa turns one away from reflecting on all this, which makes one lower to the exact state of animal. That's what the Quran says, Suma radadnahu asfala safilin. You are worse than an animal if you were to follow the Hawa. The exact state of animal, however, animal, they are excused because they do not observe the consequences of what they do. Hence, a wise person should not descend from high and noble state that he is honored with to the state of those that are low animal. The mind should observe the consequences of action. One should examine the benefits and interests since it act a resolute person and adversary doctor. The similitude of Hawa is that of an ignorant boy and a gluttonous sick person. For this reason, when the mind perceives something that differs to the Hawa entreaty, a wise and a reasonable person should then consult his mind. You can sometimes, that's what they say, they think, particularly as he is aware that it is knowledgeable as well sincere in its advice. The mind is knowledgeable and is sincere in giving you an advice. He should be patient upon what the mind orders him to do, because knowing the excellence of the mind is enough for him to favor it. Further, if he needs additional proof of the uprightness of the mind decision, he should contemplate the consequences of following his hawa, such as scandalous exposure in front of people, vilification. While is a very big masyat, then missing virtues and good deeds. For this glory has been the rhetoric honor and has been disgraced and humiliated or a bird hunted except as a result of following Hawa. Let me finish this. The proof can also be found when a person anticipates what his Hawa is calling him to prior to attaining it. He should then reflect on his state after his satisfaction has passed. He should compare this between his satisfaction and his sin, for that is when he will know that he has lost double of what he has gained. As a poet saying regarding this, how much satisfaction that provoke happiness. You see, beautiful, huh? The Shair said, how much satisfaction that provoke happiness. Ended up revealing sadness and sorrow. How many desire reap from their participants, the garment of religion and virtue. So know that when a human acts in accordance to his hawa, if we act according to your nafs, he will find himself disgrace and humiliation. Even if this hawa does not harm him. That is because he feels subdued by his hawa. But when he overcomes his hawa, he will find himself honor and pride, as he will feel triumph and victorious. So for this reason, when people see an ascetic, they become amazed by him, and they would kiss his hand to show respect because they perceive him as a person who is strong enough to leave what they were weak in face of, and that is disobeying the Hawa. Okay, let's move on. So here Uthman bin Abdul al-As radiallahu anhu reported that he came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said, "O Messenger, the Satan intervenes between me and my prayer and my reciting of the Quran, and he confounded me." Thereupon, the Prophet ﷺ said, "That is the doing of the Satan. That is what he does, who is known as khinzib. And when you perceive its effect, seek refuge of Allah from it and speak 3 times to your left. This is while you're doing the prayer. Satan come. Khinzab there is referring to he will always lie to you, to perceive. So when you receive that kind of whispering when you're doing your prayer, Prophet Muhammad SAW taught us in this hadith to recite A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajim, then turn to your left and speak. Of course, this speed is not like really a speed, It's not like you have to let go your mucus or whatever. You can't be doing that while you are praying. It's just like something like that. 3 times onto your left. And then Uthman bin Abdul As said, I did that. Allah dispelled that from me. So these are how we can be helped, when we are doing our prayers. So it's not that you will not be getting help, right? This is the deception of the Sufis, how they were cheated. And Sufism means discipline. If you want to be Sufi, your soul is being disciplined, and resistance to nature by restraining it from vices and impelling it to virtues such as asceticism, gentleness, patience, sincerity, and truthfulness. You want to be a Sufi, that is what is expected. But don't be cheated by all these things. Okay? Some of them are deceived to have complete abandonment of the world. This is what happened. On condition, of course, they can abandon the world, but they cannot be expecting provision from others. Okay? So this is what they're trying to make us understand how they were cheated. How the Sufis were sometimes cheated because they completely abandoned the world. Discarded what is good for their body, compared wealth to scorpions. Right? Don't get cheated by this kind of teaching, which is it is here in our society, and some of them use extreme hunger to hallucinate, imagining that they saw Allah in beautiful forms. Na'udzubillah. Now this are not anymore in today's modern world. You don't get to see this kind of asceticism because unfortunately this is only in some rural areas, maybe like in country where you have jungle. This is where you will get registered by this. Okay.
Ustaz, is it Sufism something like similar that we see in Turkey and the Balkan state?
Something like that, yes. So you have seen them.
Yes, I've seen them in Turkey, in Balkans, and also in Ertugrul.
Many, yeah, I mean, among countries in Asian will be Turkey, but there are other from Syria, from Baghdad, you know. They are this kind of group. Well, I'm not saying that they are wrong, brother. Okay, they're not wrong, but this is why it become a deception. It becomes like you are being cheated by Shaitan because you are making things difficult for other people. You know, they have to be thinking of you. Even uh, during the time of Imam Ghazali, rahimullah alayhi, he has already mentioned clearly in his book of Hayya al-Madid. The Arabic word is uzla. If you want to went into exclusion, right, you have to first check are your service needed by the society. Can you understand that? Can you understand?
Yes, sister.
Uh, you have to check, you know, whether your services, your service such as maybe if you are a teacher or if you are someone that in the society that you live, right, they need your service. If they need your service, you cannot just simply go into exclusion, you know, and disregard them. As the word used there, abandon, you can't do that. It's a sin, right? You have to go to a country where you can, where your service is not needed. But you can't leave when the country needs you. Okay, so this is where you've got to be very careful. So what they're saying here is you need to understand the root of it. This is just um, the root cause to why these people will not, whatever they do will not be accepted by Allah. Okay, because they are too, don't you find it's excessive what is being said here? Anybody? What is your comment?
No, Ustad, it's not excessive.
Not excessive. To completely abandon the world is not excessive.
The reason why we are placed in this world, so to completely abandon the world is wrong because Allah has given us a reason to do both ukhrawi and dunyawi. So why abandon the dunya? If you want to achieve the ukhrawi, you must have dunya bit to achieve that ukhrawi.
Exactly. So that's what I said just now. That's why because of what they do is beyond, right? So that's why they are considered as they are being cheated by Satan, right? And this is clearly mentioned in the Quran about the deception of Satan, right? Allah mentioned very clearly in the Quran, وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا خُطُوَةِ الشَّيَاطِينِ إِنَّهُ لَكُمْ عَدُوٌّ مُبِينٌ إِنَّمَا يَأْمُرُكُمْ بِالسُّوءِ وَالْفَحْشَاءِ وَأَنْ تَقُولُوا عَلَى اللَّهِ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. And do not follow the footsteps of Satan. Indeed, he is to you a clear enemy. He will only order you to evil and will only order you to evil and immorality and to say about Allah what you do not know. So there are many Quranic verses regarding Shaitan's deception. So this is just, we are going from one to another. And first the worshipper and now we're going into the Sufis. I mean, if you plan to be Sufis, so you have to follow what is being mentioned and balance it. As I already mentioned about Satya, being moderate in with whatever that you do. Okay? And the early Sufis were clear on the importance of referring to the Quran and Sunnah. They follow what is in that. But it's just that just now I said that abandoning the world is already beyond, what you can't. And some of these practice, if you were to refer to the companion, right, and the early scholars, or rather the earliest people like saint, uh, you find it almost difficult in the context of our time. So we must always know that Iblis is occupied with deception, and yet he was the first to be deceived. He rejected the clear order to prostrate to Adam alayhi salam, and he dwelled into who was better origin, him or Adam alayhi salam. As we know, it's recorded in the Quran in Surah Al-A'raf, chapter 7, verse 12. Allah says, "Khalaqtani min narin wa khalaqtahu min tin." You created me from fire and created him from clay. He objected to the king, he objected to Allah and the most wise. Right. So these are the deception of the layman. Why, sometimes even at the layman level also they are being cheated. And the common thing that you normally see or hear is they keep on giving you fatwa. They keep on sharing with you the legal verdict where they are not too sure also where this legal verdict and how it is being decided on many matters. Wallahi, when you talk about fatwa, it's not something that just you don't like or you disagree and that's it. You just create your own verdict and say this is forbidden. It's not just like that. That's why normally for the legal committee here in the context of Singapore, it consists of at least 30 professional Muslims to be seated in the fatwa committee before they decided on many things that we knew even when we have been hit by COVID, right? So these are not one person decision. Although we have a Mufti will sit in that legal committee, and then you can hear them start brainstorming, giving ideas on how do we. That's why these are the new ruling that we are facing about. Although you can hear some of this legal verdict being said in the internet, this is the problem of the modern people. So normally they will just take it from Facebook, views that come and commented and objected. Like in some countries, they argue about, okay, there's no such thing as praying as in the manner as we are doing today. That you have to maintain the distancing. And they commented to say the Prophet, they brought forth the hadith where, you see, sometimes when you brought forth hadith, right, you need to know the context. Okay, the hadith that the Prophet command us to always, uh, uh, to be close to one another when you're doing the congregation prayer. That hadith is and during normal time, not during emergency like COVID and there's no pandemic or epidemic. That hadith was not referring to the time of pandemic or an epidemic, right? But that's why you see the fatwa can change because we are facing pandemic. On top of that also there's still a view to say, okay, since it's pandemic, then there's no need to go for congregational prayer. But that's not how the fatwa is being made. You need to understand views. And they normally, like I said, when they say something, right, they brought forth evidence. They may have cited. Mostly are taken from the scholars, Salafus Salih, the righteous scholars, the earlier generation. So they study. And that's how you will find that Singapore, in the context of our community, right, is very unique on how things has been done. We start with just allowing prayer with distancing, and then now we are doing Friday also in the distancing and so on and so forth. So don't give fatwa if you do not know. Right? Don't think of yourself highly, then ignore and criticize the juries. Referring here, juries here is referring to not juries in court, but they're referring to the faqih. In Arabic, it's known as faqih. In English, they call it juries. When the fatwa go against their personal opinion, okay, you can't be criticizing or say something or comment that and then share that ideas of yours with others, and this is very dangerous. Yeah. So regarding this, I would recommend you to read the book of Shoutul, Lawful and Prohibited, and read the 11 principles that he laid. So one of that principle is talking about this thing about fatwa. It's not, you cannot take a bunch of people who's ignorant to be in the legal committee. No, you have. There are many criteria. It's not for me to touch on this, but if you want to be knowing, then you have to learn to understand when people want to be transgressing or rather going against some of the legal verdict that has already been decided. Don't just, I mean, they call it taklid. Don't just accept without understanding. But if you are a layman, then you should not even share, whatever anything to do with the legal ruling. Luckily, we are not in an Islamic state, but still, the uh, the power that is given to our religious council is not it cannot be overriding the civil law, because it there's whatever that is happening, whatever to do with the legal verdict that is transgressing, unless you go and attack means or any individual, then it's considered as a different act of violence based on religion. Okay. Secondly, the deception of laymen, they are cheated, they are being deceived by the outward appearance. Again, you saw this. And again, I said, I'm not saying it's wrong for youth to be wearing the, they call it imama in Arabic, that is like the sarban, that you wear during the prayer. And then hang the shawl that normally you saw most scholars and some of our local ustad also, they're very fond of having the shawl onto the shoulder. And sometimes this is what people get deceived by the outward appearance, relying on the outward appearance and actions of someone to be considered as knowledgeable or religious. This is very dangerous. Okay. Then again, as I mentioned earlier, attacking the scholars. You can be disagreeing with them, but you cannot attack them. And then they prefer strangers over local scholars sometimes. This is what happened, and this is what you saw normally on Facebook. People are very fond of commenting and attacking scholars that you find that their ideas doesn't suit you. It doesn't work that way in Islam. You are allowed to be disagreeing, but the disagreement should not lead into disunity. Okay, and this is what mentioned by Dr. Bilal Phillips in his book Evolution of Fiqh. You can refer to that book. He will tell you about the etiquette or the attitude of the earlier generation. The layman will not be attacking the scholars, but in comparison to our time, people are very vocal. They don't like the ustad, that's it, they condemn the ustad. Another deception of the layman is sinning excessively and repentance can wait. This is also still at large. They keep on doing all the sin, things to do with the sin, and then they delay the repentance. This is as normally you hear, people will be giving excuse. Oh, I'm still young. It's okay. When I'm older, inshallah, I'm able to what do you call it? I'm able to repent. This is again deception. How the layman is being cheated. So you saw people keep giving an excuse to say that they cannot be doing what they can do, isn't it? Because they are actually being cheated by Satan. And then some people sin and repent and sin on the same thing again. So Iblis increases his effort to mislead them because of their weakness. And if you are in between obedience and sin, the devil becomes eager to deceive you. Okay? So be careful. The whispering of Iblis, this one you can go into Imam Ghazali's book, Minhajul Abidin. He will explain in that book, he will explain about when the devil suggests to us to do something, then we must be extremely cautious and should respond saying, you are pretending to give me advice by ordering me to fulfill my lust. How could your advice be genuine when you have failed to abide by this advice yourself? This is how you can see when you receive this kind of deception. And how can I trust the advice of an enemy? Leave your suggestion has no place here. Okay? So what happened after that? The devil will seek assistance of the nafs. Remember I told you the desire. So if he talks to you, it doesn't work, then he will seek the assistance of the nafs, the human self, because he is encouraging it to fulfill its lust. So at this point, intellect should be invited to the household of contemplation in order to think about the end result of sinning. Perhaps Allah's assistance will dispatch his soldier to defeat the army of lust. As mentioned by Iyad ibn Himar radiallahu anhu, reported that the Prophet ﷺ said, O people, Allah the Mighty and Majesty commanded me that I should teach you which you do not know, and which Allah has taught me today. He has instructed the property which I have conferred upon a servant of mine is lawful. I have created my servant as one having a natural inclination to the worship of Allah, but it is the devil who turned them away from the right religion and make unlawful what has been declared lawful for them. He commanded them to ascribe partnership with me, although he has no justification for that. And verily, Allah, the Mighty and the Majestic, look towards the people of the world. He show hatred for the Arabs and the non-Arabs, except for some remnant from people of the book. Can you understand? And lastly, don't walk the talk. This is again very important. Attending zikr session consistently, cried and felt humble, but then continue to deal in usury, cheat in business, ignore pillars of Islam and backbite. So this is what happened, why we are not respected. Although our Wallahu alam bisawab, I don't know what to say, but although we don't know whether our community are that corrupted or not. But this is true what Satan did to us. He want us just to walk the talk. meaning just attend zikr and then cry. You can see. It seems like I am always mention about Ramadan. You know, when we leave Ramadan, we don't feel like we miss it, and we don't try even to go into something that should make us better, and we should be improving, right? So be careful of all this act. Okay, any question? So some of this I'm still addressing. That's why I appear in Instagram to try and share, and which is again, like I said, some of us are just stubborn. We don't want to change. We follow the custom blindly. We still see Muslims covering mirrors, covering television. We don't even know what was the reason, and there's no source where and who say that. These are custom. Sometimes some of these things is without any, so anything that is not. Uh, we just need to be very careful. Anything that we don't know, right? It's best not to do. In order to safeguard our iman, we don't just follow blindly. Okay, not in the teaching of Islam. That's why continuing learning is very important. So that there will not be a problem. That's why there's always an issue when a convert marry the Muslims. Because these are some of the issue they are still facing it, because the individual Muslim actually doesn't know what is being taught to them. Now, I was sharing with my wife just now also about what the hadith talks about children, where some of our children are still not listening to us. See very clearly whatever the outcome of your child, right, be it a boy or a girl, you are the mirror. You are the one that has to be blamed. You cannot pinpoint at others and start blaming others. And especially in today's context, many of our youngsters are having domestic servant assisting you. So this is one of the things that, yeah, I mean, some of these things easy for us to make a comment, but we really, I don't know whether it can be changed or not. Like most of our guys economically are not strong to ask the wife, and for them to be looking after their children, right? Because most wives are working, so that's where the child follow whoever that is uh, near that child. I mean, that is very common. I share this many times. The Prophet says, I mean, if you're going to be having a child again, when your wife gave birth to the child, right? Look at the child. Are you denying to say that when the child was born, that's why you see, look at the eyes, and then you think that the child is responding to you, where the child is still in zero knowledge, and then has the child progressing in growing up, right? Then Allah taught the child, when you are communicating with the child, there is an angel there that help the child to understand. So every word you say is being stored in his mind, in his or her mind. Many still are very much against this understanding. They still think that they have their own ways on how to raise the child. The Prophet has made it very clear what actually the cause of whatever the progress of the child, right? I mean, like in today's context, you are the one that has to be blamed, because the Prophet mentioned that first. Fa'abawaya. See, Fa'abawaya is the mother, is the father, the one that is with the child, are the one that turn the child into Yahudian. It doesn't mean that the child is going to be a Jew. What he meant by Yahudian or Nasranian and Majusi, what he meant in that hadith is that you are, you are, you innate the value of these others instead of Islam. So definitely you're going to have problem. Anyway, I will be touching on this once we completed this Thursday class. I'll be touching on how to raise your child in accordance with the Quran and Sunnah. Let me finish all the subject because this is what we promise you. So we deliver our promise. Then we will have that talk on parenting, or perhaps how to raise the Quran in accordance with the Quran and Sunnah. From there, we will continue what else can be shared. Okay? So be careful of this blind following thing. Like I said, it's still happening. If you attend any funeral, you will still see Muslims closing mirrors, television. Anybody have seen this? Alaikum. Have anybody saw this?
Yes, Ustaz, I see this.
Yes.
Hmm? So be careful of this. Can you imagine? We don't know what is the base. There's no hadith that the Prophet asked you to do that. As I've been repeating again, when anybody pass away, what is obligatory is only 4 things. Okay? I repeat this again. 4 things needs to be done, right? To wash, to shroud, to pray, and to bury. Now, how these 4 things is done, it will differ from one, maybe race, on how the shroud it should be. Like in the context of our society, we use the what do you call it, the kafan, the cloth, right? But maybe it will be different in other parts of the world. And again, it will also based on how the death is, how the person died. Okay. And then other deception will be stealing from the employer. Again, very common. Like in some offices, you are provided with this stationery, right? Especially in the public servant, they provide you. Then you bring home all the stapler, you bring on the sharpener, you bring on this. This is haram. This is what they meant by stealing from your employer. Then some is, your timing, you're supposed to come at 9, but you come at 9:30 or 10, and then when you go back at 5. This is also again known as stealing from your employer. When you know that you are paid for that month's work, but are lazy on spending too much time not working. These are the deception. And some of them claim that they do not have to perform salah while working. This is even worse. Just to be fair to their employer. So don't if you don't understand, or if you do not know, if you're caught in this kind of situation, my advice to you is now you can just type to Moise. They have. Then if not, if you want to personally, then you can go to Moses. Moses have the what is known as resourceful personnel. Those type will be there to answer some of these things. And most of this is already been circulated by Moise in Moses to share about how do you pass, how do you interact with those people who are not Muslims in your work area. Rather than you make a blind statement, a blunt statement to say that you do not have to perform salat while you are praying, just to be fair. No, that is not the excuse. And then you are not sincere in whatever that you're doing at work. Okay? Any questions about?
No, sir.
No.
Then if you are rich, this is again what Satan cheated you. Normally does not care about how they gain the wealth. Some people just go and find the money, but you do not know where the source. Some of these things are not applicable in the context of our society because we are considered as in a, we are in the non-Islamic state. So how you can gain this wealth become a major topic that if you want to be discussing about this. As I mentioned to some bankers, those who works in the credit bureau or even, I told them that we have discussed this even at the ARS level on because the problem is the public are not educated about all the banking system, you know? So they do not know. So that's why they don't care where this money comes from as long as which bank offer better interest, that is the one that they will go after. So, but then you need to understand how the banking system, you know, how the bank works in order to give you more, what you call it, interest, you know. So this is where you got to be careful. Like I share with someone also about at this point of time we are trying to create a halal credit card, you know, and most of the credit card not uh, it's not it's not fair, you know, to many of us. But anyway, we can't be commenting on this because this we have MAS in Singapore, so you can't change anything, you know, as long as you don't have your own bank. We don't have Islamic bank here in Singapore, but we have Islamic banking in Maybank. What is being introduced there, or rather even OCBC, is just the trade on how to Islamize it, and there is an advisory committee looking into the bank to make sure that the money is not being used for other things. Secondly, of course, the problem with the rich is they are stingy, and yeah, I've come across also some rich people cannot pay zakat. They don't want to pay where actually it's not much, and then using deceptive techniques to avoid paying. Meaning like they go and look for poor people, they give money, then they say, okay, I give it zakat. So this is a deceptive technique to avoid paying. And other than that is of course they buy expensive car and not enough for them to be paying the zakat, you know, to avoid. So this is what it means by deceptive technique to avoid paying. And then believe that they are rich because they are rewarded for their righteousness. Again, this is not rightful thinking, not necessarily that because of the reward that you get because of the righteous deed you did. This is ignorance. You know? Then again, some of have been cheated with wasting their wealth. They don't know what to do. Handphone got 4 or 5, buying unnecessary things, you know, shoes, bag, you know, computer, 4 or 5 computer, and then wearing extravagant clothing and wasting food. The kind of food they buy, but then you cannot finish. So these are the deception of the rich. Then showing off by being recognized as the donor. They want to give you money. They want it to be on the news or in the newspaper, you know, that you are very generous in giving charity. This is generally, it's not that it is a mass that they behave in such a manner, but these are the general behavior of how these people were cheated by Satan. Okay. And lastly, donate to strangers, not to relatives. Where actually the Quran says, you know, you are to attend to your family members first, then someone else. Okay. Can we continue? Or you have any question? No question. Eh? So these are again the deception of the poor. If you are poor, so you see, Iblis doesn't leave you alone. Poor soul can strike, can still cheat you. So this is what Iblis will cheat you. Iblis will convince a poor person that he's better than the rich, and this is because he has given up on becoming rich. As the same with the Sufi just now, self-proclaimed to say that if you are poor, you are better. Where again, I've been repeating to you, Islam talks about hayya alal falah, to always go to make yourself better in this world before you meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is this the last slide, boss?
Let me check, Ustaz.
So in the meantime, any question? Anything to discuss?
Just 5 more, Ustaz.
Okay, want to continue?
Inshallah.
And how women are cheated also, this is recorded also here, speaking to your husband in a haram way, like you are the father of my children, and that is all that is between us. You are the father of my children. This is not allowed in Islam. And then the wife is so stuck up, saying this kind of statement to the husband. You are nothing like, you are just the father of my children. And that's all between us. The second thing that is the women are cheated of is leaving the house without husband permission. Then saying, I didn't go out to sin. Go out without permission, someone there to be telling the husband, I didn't do anything. I didn't go out to sin. She does not know that leaving the house without permission is a sin itself. Okay, this is what happened to many. Yeah, but of course, I mean, don't go into the nitty gritty things. It is something that is again you have to review. When you get married, right? There is no hard rules actually. It's based on mutual agreement, mutual understanding. So pertaining to this also is the same. If your husband is okay with that, then it's okay. Like, don't make it into an issue. Okay. The third one is also common. It's again how both of you agree to one another. But you can't be refusing your husband when he calls you to bed. If the serious thing that happened to you is, I don't know whether the woman knows this or not, you will be cursed by the angel until morning. The whole night you've been cursed by them. And it's something that is very serious if you understand. Because angels are known as Mukarrabun, they are very close to Allah Ta'ala. So if they recommend it or they say something about whatever they know that you did, then you are in trouble. If they curse you, it's the same. And then again, spending carelessly out of the wealth of the husband just because of if you are a full-time housewife, then just take money from him and then just go and keep on buying. When the husband asks you where the money is, you say you buy this, you buy that. So cannot. You have to understand as a duty of a wife, you have to look after the welfare of the husband too, right? And the fourth one is worse, taking anything out of the house without husband permission, or except that she knows he will be pleased. You cannot be giving anything, but again, like I said just now, all these are based on mutual. You agree or you disagree. Okay, then in order to avoid any further discrepancies among you. Then there are many more, as mentioned by Al-Imam Muhayyim Rahimullah. Okay. He has written a separate book on this topic, and you can actually download the book, The Deception of Iblis. Okay. And deception of having high hope, also again common. Shaitan will whisper to the sinner to procrastinate seeking repentance. You can do it later, in other words. Sometimes seeking righteousness are serious to be lazy. Most of the time he will whisper, no need, don't need to be too holy, you find it's very difficult in this modern time. So these are common thing that normally is against what you're supposed to be doing. Then Iblis will convince a worshipper who woke up at night to pray that he still has a lot of time, so you should get more sleep. This is common again for those who are very fond, and as I always advise, it's best to be moderate in what you're doing. Okay. Then, in case someone who sees death to be near, work hard during his life for the akhirah. Okay? Who sees death to be near, but work hard during his life. Meaning, like, you are being giving hope there by Satan, you still got a long time before you die. So work hard, don't worry about what you're supposed to be doing. And then we are, in conclusion, we are asked here, frequent, so this is how you protect yourself. I mean, all these are to do with the religion, but some are you have to put on the effort yourself. Besides, just read this, but then you are still in an area where the Satan is even in larger group than yourself. So even if you use Ratib and all this, you will not be able to. They will not be able to benefit you. Okay, but these are the precaution that we know. These are cited from the Hadith. The Prophet taught us to be doing all these things. Surah Al-Fatiha, common, read the Ayatul Kursi. It will protect you and your family. Depend on if you recited 3 times, you and your immediate family. But if you recited more than that, then even your neighbors will benefit. Will also benefit from the verse that you read. It will protect your house, and the houses around you. Depend on, as I said, there's an hadith that says when you are to read the morning and evening protect you from jinn. If you read Ayatul Kursi in the morning and the evening, you will protect from. So evening here they are referring to the Isha prayer. Morning is during, of course, the Fajr prayer. And then recitation before you sleep, under the guardianship of Allah, you will be protected. No devil will come close to you until morning. You will be you will sleep so peacefully. And then if you were to recite Ayatul Kursi after Salat, nothing will prevent you from entering paradise but death. Meaning that if you die, he will enter. Then the first is referring to that you will be reading it, but when you are about to die, then it's where you will forget this verse. So Ayatul Kursi is not recited in house except that the devil flee from that house for 30 days, and sorcerer and sorcerers will not enter it for 30 days. Then understand again the virtues of the three kul, Surah Nas. All this is in a separate book. Okay. So last, protect yourself, learn and how to manage evil thoughts, know what to do when you are confronted by evil. I mean, this is to do with the mind and the nafs earlier that I have shared. And then remember the recommendation given in the lesson. If you can still remember. So what we have learned today, brothers and sisters in Islam, perform the self-reflection, which is known as the muhasabah in Arabic. If you have been delusional or deceived in any of the mentioned areas, whether in the social behavior, your action, and your act of worship, your intention in everything that you do. So, what is your plan to defend yourself against an open enemy who will be around you at all times? Not only you, but around me too. This is why this COVID also teach you a lesson that you are. All of us are now at home, safe, and doing what we can, and we also not wasting our time. When in this kind of situation, it benefited us. Even our children benefited from this technology where you can still be communicating and learning. Most of the country now are depending highly on this way on what we are learning today. So you have to make plan, to defend this. You are exposed to this open enemy who will be around us. So here you need to check what is the level of your iman. As I already mentioned to you, there are three levels. Iman, awam is referring to the layman, which is normally fluctuate, it goes up and down. You have to try and upgrade your iman to the second level, which is known as iman khawas. These are people who will always be cautious to make sure the iman is not mixed with any other things. Right? So you have to look at the level of your iman and what is your remedy when it drops. What happens when the iman drops? You are able to know it's only you and Allah, no one else. Because mostly of the things that we didn't want others to know, we will conceal it, right? But you cannot conceal it from Allah. You can conceal it from me, you can conceal it from your wife, from your friends, but you cannot conceal it from Allah. Allah, the know of everything. So be careful when your iman drop, then you have to find a remedy quickly to boost it up again. Okay, that will be our last lesson, and our last lesson, a topic on being your life as a Muslim, what is expected from you. So after we have completed, then only, as I mentioned just now, we will continue with the talk pertaining to how to raise your child in accordance with Quran and Sunnah. Wallahu a'lam bishawab. I leave for you if there's any question and answers. If there is any. Don't be shy, please. Anyone? Anybody? Silent is golden, eh? Sumana, how are you?
Sorry, Ustaz. Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you, Ustaz. How are you, Ustaz?
Alhamdulillah. No question?
No, not at the moment.
Aizah?
Assalamualaikum, Ustaz. Ustaz, about the shaitan, right? Is the one is the karin that is inside us. And then if we are not responsible, we actually invite more shaitan, right? To be with us, right?
Yeah, that is when your iman drop. Lah.
So if the shaitan can be deceptive, we can be deceptive to them too, right?
In what way? You can't see them.
But we can remind ourselves, like okay, if let's say lah, let's say, okay, I want it's waktu to pray already. Then I tell myself, Allah, never mind lah, I want to watch this YouTube. But actually, I am aware of my action. So if I want to decept okay, like for example, Ustaz Kazim said when dia kena santau, every time he wants to step out to do lessons, he will faint. But instead, he said, don't say that I want to go and teach. I just say that I want to go out and play football. Is that something like that?
Yeah, but that one is to be said in our heart, not with our not utterance of it. You will make
Okay. So basically, we need to have knowledge. We need to have all the ammunition for us to fortify ourselves. So, although we know lah, our iman has this fluctuation thing lah, up and down. So we have to constantly remind ourselves.
Yes.
Thank you, Ustaz. Then Ustaz, back to culture thing. Even like we grow up with pantang larang that you cannot take picture in threes or in fives, you have to take in even numbers. So we were following it, growing up with it without knowledge. So that point of time, is it sinful for us? Because as a child, we don't know, and then we grow up also without the knowledge.
No, Faizal, no. Why,
But now,
is when we start learning, the moment you embark into the journey of learning Islam, right? Erase all your past sin.
Okay, so currently, as we already know, okay, with knowledge lah, by going for your classes and other classes, we know that there's a lot of things that we do that is so wrong, Ustaz. So we should just abandon them and just make sure that our children or our next generation don't blindly follow.
That's right. That is the best. That is the least that we can do, right? I mean,
Yeah, we still have a lot, Ustaz, of those kind of, okay lah, now I call them nonsense lah, Ustaz. Last time, if we don't follow, our parents say we are rude. And then if we fall sick after that, they say, there you never listen to me.
yeah, I mean, Allah Ta'ala knows that all of us has our skeleton that we have done. Right? That's why Allah reminded us to do a lot of nasuha. If you want to repent, do it sincerely.
Okay, then back to the other slide, Ustaz, about deception of work. You know, we're supposed to fulfill a certain number of hours, but we do not. Okay, this is my scenario, Ustaz. My contract says 44 hours a week. My boss, however, said to my whole team, it's up to you. You want to work less or more, as long as you complete your work, you submit on time, your work is of quality work, I am fine for you to manage your work hours. So we may work less than that, or there are times we may work beyond that. So where do I stand like that, Ustaz?
Okay, you have to see how much you're paid for that. I mean, when they say that you follow the rules, that one is because of MOM is behind that.
Yeah, because there's a guideline whether it's 44 hours or 48 hours per week. Yeah.
Just will be telling you that you manage your own time, and that means you know the problem with us, Faiza, as human beings. Normally, we will take the reverse of whatever we heard.
To our advantage.
Yes, that's what the book just now talked about. That is from the book. What? It's to do with the soul.
Disciplining of the soul. Yesterday kan you mentioned the white red book lah, disciplining of the soul, which we did with you start last December.
Yes. Sometimes these are the things that sometimes we have to go back again, because we are all, including me, I will not be lying to you. All of us have already born being materialistic. Okay, so to oppress this materialistic cannot be done overnight. Okay, it takes time. Okay, our Habib Rashid was at one time having this, having that. So it's a matter of time. Before you realize that, okay, you have done a lot of wrongdoings, right? And don't think about that and move on. What is important is you have to regret that you know, as normally they say, the image let bygone be bygone. There's nothing much can be done. But there are of the act of worship needs to be repaid to the best of what within again your capacity. Meaning that there must be a feeling of remorse, you know, that you will try your best. As I keep on saying, you know, it's sad, you know, to know that we are intellectual people and yet we do not know how to use and think, as again the Quran has been repeatedly mentioned to us, "Afala ta'qilun," you know, especially for those who are very fond of reading Surah Yasin. You'll find that every of the verses it will pause with questioning you know, "Afala ta'qilun, afala yashkurun." You know, when you read other verses, it prompt and asks you to say, "Afala yatadabbarun." These are all very important, and that's why again, what happened to us is we are expert in reading, but we are not. We don't absorb what we read and put it in our mind at the back of the mind to say, okay, we're careful with what we see. You know, an example would be a very common verse that you saw in most business place, or what they call it, verses of 1,000 dinar.
1,000 dinar.
It's unfortunate, you know, many still doesn't understand what does it mean. And why are we still very fearful of whatever the situation is? Very clear the verse mentioned, وَمَا يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ مَخْرَجًا. If you really have faith, if you really have been submitting yourself, you rely on Allah Ta'ala, وَيَرْزُقُهُ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. Allah will provide you with sustenance. You don't even know where it comes from. Now, when we talk about sustenance, we are not talking about material. Okay, we need to understand some of the translation that is literally being translated. We have to go beyond. Sustenance can be health. You are healthy. You know, where some people have been tested from one sickness to another, and again in curing ourselves, we must not be leaving behind sabab, which is cause and effect. You must not forget that. Meaning, like sometimes some medicine is it works for you, but it doesn't work for others. So these are again, it goes back to understanding. You see, you have to have the right understanding. So that then you will not feel that Allah is not and Allah doesn't attend, or Allah doesn't answer to your prayer. Then you are very wrong. Again, the hadith, I have repeated this many times also, that I already told you that Allah answers everyone prayer in 3 ways, right? Allah normally will answer to our prayer. It's either He will give you whatever that you want immediately, or He will aver. There's an aversion to what you ask. He replaces it to something else, or the Prophet ﷺ says, the third one, He will reserve it for you in the hereafter. So this is the important things of why we learn hadith. It's for us to be able to understand. And as I have shared also about what versus implementation. Remember?
Yes, that's under the time management.
So it's the implementation that is where we are still holding it back. You know, we are still contemplating whether should I make an implementation, should I put an effort to try and change. And again, change is not something can be done overnight. It's a process. You know? It's not it cannot be done solely by us. We need help also. We need Allah Ta'ala's inspiration to give us that strength. So these are the that's why I keep on saying that we don't push ourselves to be knowing everything. No, 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 no. See, now just to focus on the three subjects, right? But it will be an addition to be knowing others, because it falls under Fardul Fire. Fardul Fire is still Fardul, but it's just communal, meaning like not everyone should go beyond studying morphology, studying about this, studying about that. Not necessarily. It's enough because once if you start knowing, and then the second whisper, Shaitan will come and whisper to you, you're not going anywhere. And it's where the whole thing drop, and then you turn over, you turn over, you make me turn back and say, okay, I'm not going any further. So this is what happened to many of us. So be careful. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Ustad.
Anyone else?
Ustaz, sorry, can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
What do we do with the interest that we receive on our savings? Best way to do with it?
According to the fatwa in Singapore, which Mufti said, the previous Mufti, you can take it, but don't use it anything to do with worshiping. Meaning like don't buy clothing where you use that cloth for you to be worshiping. Don't buy food, because anything that benefited yourself, right, from something that doesn't belong to you is considered as you have increased the level of sin in whatever that you ate. And if our body is full of sin, and that is one of the other reasons as to why again that our dua will not be answered by Allah. So that is the advice. You can take the money, but don't use it for any act of worship. You can pay tax. You can, something to do with things got nothing to do with the ibadah.
Can we donate the money, Ustaz? I mean, like just put in the tabung masjid or something like that instead of we don't use it on ourselves.
You can, but it will not benefit you. You will not get the reward.
Yeah, understand. We just want to get the money out from us.
Yeah.
So it's possible?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Ustaz.
We will still give benefit to others.
Okay, understand.
Then, Ustad, do we do the same for dividends that we earn from some unit trust that we purchase or insurance that we have?
Okay, according to Yusuf Qardawi, dividend is another name given for riba.
As well. So everything goes back to interest.
Exactly. So that's why we have to be careful. If that is what you get, dividend from whatever investment that you invested, then that dividend cannot be used for your family members. For food, the same thing will apply. But you take the money, because otherwise then it will be used for other purpose, non-Islamic purpose.
So kalau kita buat sedekah pun kita tak dapat reward lah. So better use that to pay tax or anything besides ibadah thing lah.
That's right.
Okay, thank you, Ustaz.
Any other question? Okay, silent is no. So let us conclude with the dua. Astaghfirullahaladzim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. اللهم إنا أعوذ بك من علم لا ينفع ومن قلب لا يخشع ومن نفس لا تشبع ومن دعوة لا يستجاب لها. اللهم أغننا بالعلم وزينا بالحلم وأكرمنا بالتقوى وجملنا بعافية يا أرحم الراحمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. العصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد. الحمد لله رب العالمين. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.